Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome back to Geeks Reads. Today I want to talk about the third book in the Book of the Ancestor trilogy, Holy Sister by Mark Lawrence, image of which you will see here. There will be some mild spoilers. Like the other books, this one bounces back and forth in time a bit. Unlike the other books, the time periods differ. In the first couple of books, there were sections which talked about a fight between a single nun and a group of soldiers, a large group of soldiers. So, you would have that fight and then go to the story from Nana's point of view, Nana Gray, who is the primary antagonist. This doesn't quite do that. It eliminates that portion entirely. It doesn't talk about the battle of the single nun and the soldiers, because we're catching up to that time frame, so it's no longer necessary. Parts of this book take place immediately after the events of the previous book, which was, what the hell's the name of it? Gray Sister. So, the nuns and the novices have escaped. The emperor's sister, Shirzal, who is plotting to take over the empire from her brother, plans are in action. They've escaped, but they're still stuck on the mountainside with troops following them. They split up with Nana and Zol taking the ship heart, which is a magical artifact which enhances people's magical powers. They go one way with the ship heart, and the other nuns and novices and other survivors go the other direction. So that part of the story is about Zol and Nana's escape, where they go, what they learn, their experiences, things like that. And then the next time frame is like 3 years later. There have been changes in the convent. Some sisters are no longer there. There were new novices. So I actually found that a bit difficult to follow, the way it bounced back and forth like that, which I didn't expect, which made it a bit difficult for me to get into the story to start with. It was slow getting into it. So it's the story, in spite of the fact that it's interesting, but because it's so split, like I didn't have a problem with the previous books because I was enthralled. I was really, really interested. This just kind of, the pacing is different, I think. Not sure how to explain it. The 3 years later, which is kind of like the current timeline, things were advancing. We learned in the previous books that the corridor is narrowing. Essentially, the planet these people live on is not their original home planet, and they're circling a dying star. There is only the moon, which we've learned is a giant focusing lens, which focuses the heat of a dying sun on the planet. But as the star gets colder and colder, the amount of area it can actually heat to keep people alive is shrinking. The corridor, which is what people live in, as the moon circles the globe, it melts a path of ice. As that focusing lens circles the Earth, ice melts. But there is a prophecy that someone could open the Ark, which is an ancient device, which someone can use the ship hearts to unlock and fix the moon so it's focusing better. Zol is considered to have been part of the prophecy, so is Nana. As we go into the current timeline, Zol is no longer at the Sweet Mercy Convent. The prophecy has been considered to have been disproven. It doesn't exist. It's not real. And because the corridor is closing, there's less and less land for people to live on. So war is coming. And it's getting closer all the time. So that's kind of the situation where we're in. We're bouncing back and forth between Nana and Zol's escape from people who are pursuing them, trying to get the ship heart back that they stole, and the current timeline. Nana is involved in something, trying to learn more about not necessarily the prophecy, but there still must be a way to focus the moon. And the ship parts have something to do with it, but no one knows exactly what that is or how to get into the arc. So to use the ship parts to do it, Abbess Glass, who is the head of the convent for most of Nana's life, kind of tried to point the girls in a direction. It's like, okay, this is what you need to do to hopefully get this done. And there's all these little threads that are coming together finally. This is the conclusion, so it wraps up a lot of those threads. It wraps up a lot of the storylines, the various sisters at the Abbey, some of the various characters that Nana has been involved with through the previous books, some of whom she is friends with, some of whom she trusts, some of whom she is forced to trust even though she doesn't really trust them, kind of thing. And it all finally does boil to a head. You can sort of see where it's going. You know, I mean, because we learn who that particular nun is, who is fighting those soldiers in the current timeline, we kind of know at least a certain point how that's going to end, or at least what's going to happen. That certain people can't die up to that point, because that fight, you know, involves certain people. It's still a great book. Well, it's a good book. I wouldn't say it's a great book. In my opinion, the first book in the trilogy is still the best. It's a decent conclusion to the trilogy. I don't think the author wrote it badly. I think I was just personally disappointed with the way some of those plot lines closed out. Not that they're written badly, I personally found them unsatisfying. In spite of the fact that they made perfect sense. You know, not like, you know, things needed to happen a different way. Just that I kind of had hoped for something different to happen. So, you know, we find out, you know, what happens to Zol, what happens to Nana, what happens to Ara and Jolie and the other sisters and novices at the convent. And as with war, not everyone comes out alive at the other end. Can't save them all. And like I said, this book was harder than the other two to read. The other two I just burned through. I really, really did. This one, in spite of the fact that I thought it was well written, just didn't grab me the same way. It is a good conclusion to the series. It just did not pull me in like the other two. Just really, really pulled me in. I was just couldn't put the books down. This one took me several days to read because I found it hard to get into. And I'm not really sure why. Like I said, it's well written. It's as well written as the other ones. I think it's just something about me mentally wanted something else, and I can't articulate what that is. So yeah, it just didn't pull me in like the other two did, which I'm disappointed in, but I think that's on me and not the author. I want to make that clear. I don't think the author did a bad job. I think my difficulties with this book were my own and not not the fault of the writing, in my opinion. I have learned that Mark Lawrence has written other books. I have learned that there is a sequel to this. I don't, from what little I've read about it, I don't think it's a direct sequel. I think it's different characters. I'm not sure exactly what time frame it takes place, and but it's not a direct sequel. So it is not a story about Nana Gray like these three books are. But I am interested enough that I will be picking up the other books. It was good enough for that. Unlike some of the books that I've had to put down recently, this book interests me enough that I will read other books of Mark Lawrence's, not just the sequels in this world. He has other books in other storylines that are not related to this one, not related to the world of, I think it's Abeth. I think. So yeah, I like his writing enough that I will pick up his other various stories that are not related to this. As always, thanks for watching. As always, my stuff is crap. And until next time, good hunting.